Hey, what's up guys? Jeremy here. Welcome back to my channel. For those that are new to the channel, my name is Jeremy Mateo. I'm a real estate broker here in Hawaii, and I post many videos about real estate tips for agents, and as well as some videos about personal finance. So if you've been living under a rock for the past 6 months, our entire world has been affected by this huge pandemic, that of which affected our country's economy in a negative way, which eventually led to the Federal Reserve cutting down interest rates super low, which eventually,
many months later,
that led to interest rates for mortgages hitting historic lows. That means in the history of forever. In markets like Oahu, where inventory is already very low, it has led to an intense seller's market. A couple weeks ago, I made a video about how insane the real estate market is. If you haven't seen that already, I'll put a link in the description below. The gist of that video is basically me talking about how insane the real estate market is. Listings are going into escrow just after a few days of hitting the market. Most of these listings are getting multiple offers, and most of these offers are usually incredibly high over asking offers. What this means is that there are a lot of buyers and just very few listings. So basically you have a very low supply and a lot of demand because there just isn't enough homes on the market to keep up with all the buyers that are trying to buy homes. So in a market like this, whenever a home goes on the market, it's gonna get multiple offers and only one can be chosen, which leaves all the other buyers forced to keep looking for properties. And for some, they keep getting beaten out. And when you keep getting beaten out, sometimes these buyers start to get discouraged. So this is when you, as a real estate agent, need to get creative. If there aren't any homes on the market, you may need to look for homes off the market. And that's why we're here today. If you are a real estate agent or even a buyer and you're finding yourself in these situations where you just keep getting beaten out, please watch this entire short video and I promise that it will definitely help you. In this video, I'm gonna explain everything I did to find 3 off-market properties for my clients. One of them being my own property. And also I'm gonna explain how I made over $26,000 doing so in the process. Now this video isn't meant to brag or boast, it's meant to educate and show you how powerful it is to think outside the box and find off-market deals. It's more so just showing you that you can't wait for opportunity, you need to create opportunity. But before we do that, all I ask for a huge favor is if you give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. It really helps my channel grow with the YouTube algorithm. And if you want, feel free to follow me on my social medias as well. All right, so let's get to it. So the first off-market deal we're gonna talk about is my own property. In one of my first YouTube videos, I talked about how I found a unit in the condo of my dreams on the 37th floor. If you haven't watched that video yet, I'll put a link to the video in the description below. The very first thing I did was I looked at the tax records to find all the owners that lived in that complex. I told myself that I didn't want to live on a low floor and I wanted to live in a really nice high floor unit. So what I did was I wrote a very thoughtful, nice letter explaining to the sellers or asking the sellers, hey, are you ready to sell? Do you want to sell? Because I want to buy. And I sent those letters to every owner in that complex from the 25th floor and up. For this tactic, you really never know if it's gonna work. It's mostly just a shot in the dark, but I've heard stories of other real estate agents doing it and it worked for them. It has also worked for me as well in the past, but in this situation, when I was trying to buy my condo, it did not work. I did 3 rounds of letters in a span of 8 months and no one replied. And that pissed me off. What I did next was I looked on the MLS expires. I figured maybe I'll have a better shot at this because at one point in time, these sellers actually wanted to sell, but for some reason they just couldn't. At first, I looked in the expires in the last year to 2 or 3 years and I really couldn't find any expires in that condo. But if you know me, I'm very persistent. So what I did was I looked in the expires all the way back, as far back as 10 years. And eventually I found an expired listing in 2012. I contacted the seller's agent and well, you know what happens after that. I bought the unit for $560,000 and since I'm a real estate agent, I got paid a commission to buy my own home, which was awesome. However, the thing that wasn't awesome was that the seller negotiated for my commission to be 1.5%. Usually it should be around 2.5%, sometimes 3%, but honestly, it really didn't matter to me. And that is pretty much the only downside with off-market deals. Since I'm, basically coming out of nowhere and bothering the seller really doesn't have to sell. So they can pretty much set whatever commission they want. And since it was a very nice unit on the 37th floor, I wasn't going to pass up this deal and be greedy all just because of commission. So that 1.5% commission of $560,000 minus a bunch of company brokerage fees. At the end, it came out to about $8,000, which I got to buy my own property. Pretty cool, huh? Next off-market deal is also in my building. So a good friend of mine was potentially looking to buy his first property as well. And shortly after I moved into my condo, I invited him over. And sure enough, he came over and he fell in love with the view. I mean, who wouldn't? Like, look at that. Look at that view. He looked at me and said, yeah, Jeremy, if you can find me a unit in this building, I'll definitely buy. So I said, challenge accepted, bro, and I did the same exact thing. Since the letters didn't work the first time, I just skipped all of that and went straight to the expired MLS listings. And sure enough, the next weekend after speaking to my friend, I found an expired listing on a high floor that tried to sell in 2016. This was a pretty cool deal because one, I got to find my friend a unit in the place that he wanted, and two, it's in my building, so he's now my new neighbor, which is pretty cool because the demographic of my condo is mostly older people.
Okay, boomer.
So it's nice having fellow millennials as your neighbors. I called the seller's agent and we talked a bit and we decided to go into escrow, and the commission for that was 2.5%. So 2.5% of $550,000 minus a bunch of company fees because I was with a different company at that time. Kind of sucks, but it's whatever. All came out to around $8,000 as well. Finally, let's talk about the third off-market deal, which I just so happened to close last week. One of my clients called me and he said he was ready to buy his first investment property. He saved enough money for a 20% down payment and he said he was ready to go. We started looking for a couple months. We were just taking it slow because one, it was his first investment property. Two, he would be putting down a large amount of money down. And three, he was very selective with his criteria. Basically, he wanted to make sure that he could rent the unit out for a couple of $100s above his mortgage plus maintenance fees. In other words, he wanted to make sure that the property he bought would cash flow. As you all know, we were hit with a pandemic this year, which affected a lot of people in negative ways. Lots of homeowners were affected, and more so, a lot of renters were affected as well. Because of all of this happening, my client started to get a little discouraged. He basically told me that he was a little afraid that if he bought an investment property, he would have a hard time finding tenants because of the pandemic, and if it's vacant for too long, he would eventually eat up that cost every month that the unit is vacant. So what that told me was that if I wanted to help my client find an investment property, I needed to find a property that already had tenants inside it. And that's exactly what I did. This is going to sound a little crazy, but the way I found this unit was through Facebook. I basically went on a couple of local real estate Facebook groups and basically made a post that said, hey, I have a client looking for this, and this area. Then eventually someone commented saying, hey, I actually have a unit, it's not on the market. I was planning to sell it in January, but if they're okay with buying something with tenants inside, then I'd love to sell right now. Right away, I messaged the person because that was exactly what my client needed. We messaged the person and we talked for a bit and then we got it going. However, there was a little uncertainty going into this deal. The owner said that we could not see the unit in person until we submit an offer and go into the escrow, and then we can see it in person at the home inspection. The reason is because he didn't want to unnecessarily disturb the tenants. And I totally get it, especially during this time when there's a pandemic. He basically didn't want to be a crappy landlord and let us all in while there's a pandemic and go through the whole house and eventually end up not even buying the property at all, and we just unnecessarily disturb the tenants. Every good landlord will take their tenants' peace of mind into consideration, so I get it. However, almost 99% of the time, I'm pretty sure that if this was your first big investment, you wouldn't want to submit an offer until seeing something in person, right? Would you? In my client's perspective, he was terrified, but I made sure there was a mutual understanding between us and the sellers that we'll submit an offer now, sight unseen, go into escrow, and when we go see the property and do the home inspection, if for some reason my client does not want to buy it, we can pull out with all of his money back, all of his deposits back, no problem. And he was okay with it. So we made the agreement and then we submitted the offer. So sure enough, everything went according to plan. Seller's happy, my client is happy, the tenants are happy, and I'm happy. So one thing you have to know about real estate is that everything is negotiable. So for this property, I negotiated for the seller to pay me a 3% commission. For all you realtors watching this, I'm sure you know that in most areas, a 2.5% commission is usually the standard or the common thing you see. It's kind of rare that you see 3% commissions. It does happen, but it's not as common as 2.5%. So getting a 3% commission was a nice little, cherry on top. Would I have made a big deal if the seller said no to the 3% commission? Definitely not. My point that I'm trying to make is that you never know if you don't try. And it really never hurts to ask. In real estate, you always want to, shoot your shot and just see what happens, because you really never know. Someone once said you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So this property sold for $375,000 at 3% commission, minus a little brokerage fees because I switched to a different company. All of that came out to around $10,000. So all of these 3 deals came out to about $26,000 in commissions, all because I didn't settle for the inventory that was on the market. And not to toot my own horn, but this is the kind of stuff you have to do as a real estate agent to stand above the crowd. What value can you bring to your clients? Every agent can use MLS, but can you go above that? Can you go beyond the MLS? Can you think outside the box? How creative or how far can you go outside the box? If you can bring value to your clients that no one else can, then you'll be a very, very great agent. It's all about bringing value. So let's recap all the strategies that I use when finding off-market properties. You have writing letters and sending them through snail mail. You can go on the MLS expires or withdrawns, and you can control how far back you want to go. You can go as far back as you want. I went back 10 years. If I didn't find anything, I would have went back 15, 20. How far are you willing to go? Next, you have using social media, specifically Facebook. And it's really as simple as just joining local real estate Facebook groups and just posting what criteria you're looking for, or even making a post on your Facebook page as well. Another thing that has been helping me find off-market properties, or properties that haven't hit the market yet, is Instagram. It's basically what you're posting on Facebook or the Facebook groups and just posting that on Instagram. Whatever platform you're using, you never know if a fellow real estate agent sees your post and says, hey Jeremy, I actually have a listing that's gonna come up in 3 weeks or in a month or 2 months that fit that exact criteria that you just described. This is an absolute game changer, because that means you could potentially see a home before it even hits the market and beat out everyone else. Because if you see a home before it hits the market, I'm sure you already know when it hits the market, there's a complete feeding frenzy already. So there you have it, guys. If you're a real estate agent watching this, I hope that this helped you and you've learned something. If you're someone trying to buy a home and you're in this position where you just keep getting beaten out in today's seller market, then send this video to your real estate agent, and hopefully this video can help them. You never know if they use these tactics and find you something off market. If you're still watching this video and you haven't already, please give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. I post many videos about real estate, Hawaii real estate, tips for agents, and even stuff about personal finance as well. Also, don't forget to get 2 free stocks. All you have to do is use my link below, create a WeBull account, deposit $100, and start investing in stocks, and then you'll get 2 free stocks. So thank you guys again for watching my videos. I'll see you next time.